And he said, I want to tell you the difference between fear and courage. He says, fear is wetting your pants. He says, courage is doing what you need to do with wet pants.
We are beyond honored to have Dan on our show. Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Laws of Business Mastermind show.
No, well, it's my pleasure, Bill. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I keep this book whenever I get into a how pie. I keep this book next to me all the time. So Dan, talk to us first about I think it's the number one concept in business, hands down, the who, not how concept.
Yeah, well, I've been coaching entrepreneurs since 1974. So this is my 47th year. And, there's some things that take a while for you to grasp what's actually going on in an entrepreneur's mind. But entrepreneurs have an unusual ability, and I'm including entrepreneurial lawyers, entrepreneurial, any profession, that they have a great ability to kind of actually see into the future and actually create a future vision of themselves where it's bigger. They have numbers, and the numbers are bigger, and they're better. They're feeling confident, and they're feeling very, very capable about what they're doing. So they set goals, but there's something that happens when you set the goal, and it has to do with your training earlier in life, like when you went to grade school, high school, university, law school. And that is that all the emphasis was on you mastering certain hows. And I think lawyers have a pretty big dose of it. If you think about, probably if someone's planning to go into law now, the decision is probably made when they're, 14, 15, 16 years old, and they're mastering subjects so that they can get into the right university, so they can get into pre-law, and then they can do law, and then they have to article, and and they put, there's an enormous amount of emphasis on you being great at doing a particular how that's related to law. But when you get into the marketplace as an entrepreneur, people are more interested in just what you're uniquely good at. So, I have many lawyers in strategic coach program, but they've all kind of zeroed in on some sort of opportunity or some sort of relationship that they really love, and they've treated their law training as, great exercise and great muscle building, but actually they have something in the marketplace that they really love doing. And they don't have the hows to do the next step. So what we say is you got to get away from your previous training that life is about how, and you have to switch to who are the who's that can help me get to a larger goal. And so the future is really about who, and there's lots of who's out there, and there's, if you set a goal, for example, if you have a law firm and you say, these are going to be our billings, this is going to be however you're getting paid, these are our billings, we're here, and 3 years from now, we're going to be 3 times that, then you really don't know the hows to actually doing it. And Bill, you're one of their who's, and you're creating a program for them to understand the business of the marketplace as opposed to the craft of being a lawyer. So you're a who, and your weekly workshop here, and the challenges that you're actually teaching them how to operate in the marketplace and to put together a very, very unique organization that has lots of different who's. And we call the who's inside an organization teamwork, and we call the who's outside of your organization collaboration. So that's the basic principle. And I find that when we bring up this concept of who, not how, individuals say, right, I'm only good at certain things. I have a unique ability. And Bill, you're clearly taking advantage of your unique ability by creating this, this webinar and the workshop you do it. And I'm very passionate about that. but there's so many other things that are going to be necessary for a great business that constantly grows that I have to find lots of who's. And so this is my 47th year, and we've got a team of about 120 inside coach. And then I have a growing number of collaborations outside. And I would consider you inviting me onto your program today is that you're one of my who's. You're introducing me to hundreds of people that I would never be able to do. So we can just take what we're doing right here as an example that you're being a who to me. And to a certain extent, I'm being a who to you today because I'm coming on and, you want to introduce different kinds of thinking and different kinds of capabilities. So that's the idea of who, not how.
Yeah, it's absolutely disruptive, and we actually go through this when from a meditative standpoint in the company. It's very odd, but we actually just try to feel what are we most frustrated and stressed about, and we just think, well, who don't we have, right, for managing our Facebook ads is what we're going through right now. And we're like scrambling to always like relaunch the ads, and it's like, wait a second, we don't need to roll up the sleeves every weekend and do all this, right? So another key concept is the courage concept. And I share this. We have about 70 coaching members in our legal coaching track. And I share quotes from you every single week. And one of them is the difference between fear and courage. Would you mind explaining that for us?
Well, a lot of people say I can't do something until I'm confident, or I can't do something until I'm capable. Okay. But you don't know what you're trying to be capable of, and you don't really know what you want to be confident about. And I find that all progress in the world actually starts from making a commitment to a bigger result in the future when you don't have the capability and confidence. And that requires courage. And I was drafted in the 1960s during the Vietnam War. I was drafted into the U.S. Army. And we went to, I went to basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky. This was July of 1960. And, basic training, I've always been in pretty good shape, as an individual. So the phys ed, the exercising, the hikes and everything else, that didn't really get to me. But practicing with live grenades really got my attention because, it's a dangerous weapon. And we were shown the night before, we were going to go down into a pit. We were going to be given 2 grenades. They would be live, and you had to get them over a hill. And I thought about that all through the night, and I got there. And the first sergeant said, is anybody scared here? And I put up my hand, and nobody else put up their hand. And he says, well, Sullivan's the only one I trust. He says, he's the only guy I trust. If you're not scared of this, you can get people killed. And he said, I want to tell you the difference between fear and courage. He says, fear is wetting your pants. He says, courage is doing what you need to do with wet pants. And so I always tell people that if you're going to grow, it's going to require commitment and courage before you get the capability and confidence. And courage, the difference between courage and confidence is that confidence really feels good. Courage doesn't feel good. And a lot of people try to stay away from courage because they want to feel good. But I said, if you're learning something new and if you're changing your mind and you're developing new mindsets, it's going to be uncomfortable. And you have to accept that as courage.
So Dan, another question, we surveyed our clients, and since COVID has hit, a lot of our clients are seeing, and we surveyed them, and it's very interesting. Their number one problem they keep reporting is turning leads into signed clients, right, for their business, because the world has become so flipped on its head. Virtual consultations are now kind of commoditized. Webinars are commoditized. And the big problem that a lot of our audience is facing is in the lead conversion cycle. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that pain point.
Well, we have, more than right now, we have more than 2,000 entrepreneurs in the program. in Coach Proper. And what I told people last year, this would have been March, the lockdown for most people happened early March last year. And I said, what you have to do is you have to go out and help people get a new future, because the future that they were expecting early this year, that future doesn't exist anymore. And so my whole approach, Bill, to lead generation is to make it about the other person's future. What is this person thinking about in terms of themselves personally, their organization? And when there's a major disruption like what happened last year, and we're still in it, is that everything they thought the future was going to be just got shifted. And it's happened before. I think since we started our company, we've had 7 downturns where all of a sudden people got surprised and they're disoriented, and they're, the dials they had, which measure their progress, those dials aren't measuring the same reality. So we told people, we have a concept in Coach that we call DOS, DOS, and DOS stands for dangers, opportunities, and strengths. Okay. And over almost a half a century, I've discovered that people actually have 3 tools that they use to create their future. Things that they're frightened of, scared of, and they have to eliminate these fears, because fear is always about losing something. Okay. So you've got to have them talk about what they're afraid of losing. And then opportunities are the opposite. Opportunities are excitement about new gains. You can gain things. Anything you can lose, you can also gain. And so the third thing is confidence. So it's they have strengths that they're confident about. So instead of talking about, for us, we're not talking about strategic coach when we go out to talk. We're talking, how are you looking at your future? And we have a 3-year question. And we say, if this was 3 years from now and you're looking back over the 3 years back today, what has to happen in your life, both personally and professionally, for you to feel happy with your progress? And we're going on the basis that only that person is the expert on what their future is. We have no knowledge of what their future is until they tell us. And anything that we have that might be useful to them is only going to be relevant in terms of how they're seeing their future. Okay. And I was really pleased to see that Robert Cialdini is on, because this is kind of our unique approach to persuasion. In other words, the way that we persuade, all of our entrepreneurial clients is we say, this is actually about your future. This isn't about our product. Okay. And the more you can get them to embrace their own future, and oftentimes for the first time, they're actually saying it in sort of a, organized way that they can see it, and you can ask them questions about it. Well, they need many things for the future, and we're just trying to see where we can position ourselves as being useful to their future. So that's my general approach. And we told people, get out there and talk to every one of your clients, because you may be the most valuable person to them this year, and allowing them to actually think through and create a new future for themselves.